What's going on, guys? Welcome to a brand new episode of More Life Diaries podcast.
Coming to you live.
And we're
Mexico.
coming to you live. By the time you see this, it'll be far from live, but we are live right now in Mexico, in Puerto Vallarta, Jalisco, Mexico.
We made it.
The kids are sleeping.
It's been a long day.
Yes. We actually tried to record a podcast in Austin, Texas. And
we did the whole thing.
Yeah.
Wasn't recording.
Yeah, it wasn't recording. On the mics, it wasn't recording. Mic check. So we, on the mics, it didn't record most of it. So it wasn't meant to be. We're trying to break up the podcast
with our road trip
to accurately depict everything going on in the road trip and stuff, but it wasn't meant to be. So this was meant to be, I guess.
So we'll have to try and recall everything that we had to say over the past 2 weeks now, I guess.
Yeah, for sure. And we just got here to Puerto Vallarta 3 days ago. So today's November
4th.
November 4th. So we got here on the 1st.
It's the 5th. Oh. Been here for 5 days.
Oh, well, been here for 5 days apparently. So today's the 5th day. And a lot has happened since we left our home in Toronto. Mm-hmm. A long time traveling, so it took us a full 10 days. We got here on the 11th day, technically, and a very, very long trip.
What is More Life Diaries? This is our journey. More Life Diaries podcast.
So where do we start?
So we'll do the US one first, I guess.
Obviously.
I know.
So we'll do the US one first, since that's the first place we started.
We're very tired.
So we left our home way later than expected.
Yeah, a day. We took an extra day, and then even the day that we left at 4 o'clock or something like that.
And we were wanting to leave first thing in the morning, but we pushed it a day. There was still so much to do. And then we pushed it in pretty much an extra, almost full day because we left so late. So we got stuck in heavy traffic, and then we crossed over to Detroit. Mm-hmm. And we'll talk about each event maybe after, but we crossed over to Detroit, and then we stayed there one night, and then we proceeded to travel through pretty much Middle America, all the way to Mexico, and to get here. So yeah, once we crossed over in Detroit, it was pretty late at night, and the guy that first of all, we lined up at the border, and our line wasn't moving. So we're like, fuck, we're going to get grilled by this guy.
Yeah, he was
for sure.
It's taking so long with each person.
And then he gets to us, and you could tell that between questions, he was thinking what's the next question I'm going to ask these guys? So finally he's like, oh, you guys haven't been in the country for 10 years, which mind you, 10 years ago was just a shop for the day. And then he pulled us over. We had to go into some office. They loosely checked the car, asked us a few questions in the office, and that was pretty much it. So we're on our way. And that was pretty much it for Detroit.
Yeah.
And
it was just a one-nighter. We stayed in some town called Monroe, which might have led to the car search, because when we got to Monroe, it was just filled with
dispensaries, like
gigantic
big Walmart-sized dispensaries. And they're probably like, "Yo, what are you guys smuggling?"
He's like, "What are you doing in Monroe?" I'm like, "I don't know, sleeping."
Yeah, just literally sleeping. Like there was dispensaries in our hotel. Yeah, and then we continued on to
Kentucky, and I cannot remember anymore the name of the town.
Yeah, Kentucky. Again, was just kind of a stopover, sleep, and then continued on
to Nashville, Tennessee.
And then Nashville's where we kind of took the day to actually go into Nashville and explore a little bit. Kathleen spotted a playground for the kids, and it happened to be right next to the stadium where the Titans live.
I researched where we could go in like the downtown area with kids. There's like something called Centennial Park. So I was like, okay, we'll take the kids to the park. It's downtown. It seems easy to get to from the highway. There seems to be all this parking around, but I didn't realize
an excess amount of parking for a playground.
It was a giant park, not just a playground. But there's a stadium there, and the I don't even know what the Titans were playing against somebody. I don't know.
Football.
But it was crazy. They were doing obviously there's people driving into the park for the game, but then people were doing that. What do you call that thing? When you sit in your car?
when you barbecue in your car. Any Americans out there, you know what it is. Tailgating.
There was all this tailgating, parties and groups of people. And it was insane. We could not find parking. Yeah. Ended up paying way too much for it elsewhere. And then walking over to the park that was completely empty.
Yeah, no one at the park. Mind you, the park was super small as well. But we just parked in the city and then walked around a lot, which was good. It was good. It was this was a Sunday and it was super lit there. We're asking ourselves, is there a festival or something? Because there's every bar was jam packed, people in the streets, walking, drinking, live bands everywhere. We're like, holy shit.
If you're from Nashville, is that normal? Is that an everyday thing, or was it actually just?
Let us know, Nashville, because it was insane.
If anyone,
but it was weird. It was only really concentrated in that one pocket where all the bars are, and then the football stadium pocket, obviously. But everywhere else was super dead.
Yeah.
We ended up driving to a Nashville hot chicken place, and then
Hattie B's.
Hattie B's. Shout out to Hattie B's, Mr. B. And there was no traffic on the way there, and we're still downtown, which is unheard of to us coming from Toronto. And Nashville was really nice, was awesome. And then we moved on to
we stayed in West Memphis. Night, which is Nashville's Tennessee, and then West Memphis is Arkansas. So that was more or less uneventful.
Yeah, super.
We just slept there.
Uneventful.
Then we headed off to Dallas from there, which we spent 2 nights in Dallas. And we love Dallas. I would absolutely love to go back and spend more time. Actually, in all the cities that we stayed in, like Nashville, Dallas, and then we stayed in Austin, I would love to go back and spend more time, but especially Dallas. We stayed in a hotel there. We went into the downtown area, and then specifically into an area called Deep Ellum, where we went to Terry Black's barbecue, which was delicious, amazing.
Yeah.
And just walked around the neighborhood. It was, again, dead. I don't know where everyone was. It was a Monday by this point. No one around, but it looked really cool and looked like it would be really fun at night. If we saw signs that indicated that they closed the streets off in the evenings, at least on the weekends. So it must be the spot at night. But it was cool. It was pretty.
We're how do we get rid of these kids for the night? Should we just put them to bed and go? Some sick bars, really nice bars everywhere. Just the overall vibe was really cool.
They had a comedy club right next to Terry Black's. Which, it would be a perfect night if we could ever swing our way back.
Yeah, and just
Dallas.
A cool little area. And then we stayed in Austin as well.
Yeah, for another 2 nights in an Airbnb. That was good too.
It was good. Yeah, it was nice to actually stay in an Airbnb versus hotels for a little bit. It felt just a little bit more homey.
Yeah. To clean,
and
wash your
comfortable.
laundry.
Did a couple loads of washing, and then
Tried to do a podcast.
tried to do a podcast. Epic fail. But Austin was also cool. Like once we spent some time in the city a little bit and got to explore, like we just looked up a neighborhood. It was supposed to be like the it neighborhood. We got there. It was like
Womp
very
womp.
disappointing. Like maybe a block of like somewhat cool things to see. But yeah, that was pretty much it for that area. And then we found like just right next to where we were living, like a dope street.
South Congress.
South Congress, where there was South Congress the one with all the shops?
All the shops and then the big Zilker Park or whatever. It's
Yeah, the other street where all like the food trucks were. So we were on the hunt for more of that sweet savory
Sweet
barbecue.
Southern barbecue.
And yeah, we just drove around everywhere. And the thing about Austin that's really cool is the like food truck culture out there, which we're not used to coming from Canada. There's so many fucking regulations. Excuse my French. So many regulations about food trucks and this and that, you know, people with actually good food don't bother opening up a food truck. It's always in a restaurant, and then the prices go up and stuff like that. So the food truck scene in Austin was sick. Like all the little neighborhoods had their own like barbecue smoke pits
Yeah,
outside the food. They're smoking meat like
in the food truck.
in the parking lot. And it's just like, it was awesome. And then we got to spend some time by the water as well. And yeah, Austin was cool too. Everyone seems to be very active there.
Mhm.
Like a
Yeah,
lot
the
of people
fit
running, working out in the park and stuff like that. That was cool.
Yeah.
Also definitely a lot more liberal than Dallas from what we
Oh yeah.
we
Very
saw.
obvious.
Yeah.
So the three Nashville, Dallas, and Austin. What was your favorite? Even though we only had like short time there,
Mhm.
and where would you want to go back to if you could only choose one?
Probably Dallas, because everything seemed to be a little bit like smaller, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Like once we got to that cool neighborhood, I was like seeing some dope places we could live. Like I could see myself living in that neighborhood, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I'd like to visit Austin too, again, just for the food. They have a Terry Black's there too. That's like the OG Terry Blacks, I think. But what about you?
I would have to say Dallas too, kind of for the same reasons.
I'd love to like go to Dallas and do all the American shit there is to do. Go watch like Dallas Cowboys, eat a rack of beef ribs, wear cowboy boots, just do like everything in one shot.
Just do some cowboy stuff.
Yeah.
All right.
But it'd be nice too to do stuff outside the city, like traditional.
Yeah, like stay at a ranch or something.
Yeah, at a ranch and
Do cowboy stuff.
ride some bulls, ride a horse, catch a
Cowboy.
cowboy,
Save a cowboy.
save a cowboy, ride a horse. But yeah, overall it was really good. And what me and Kathleen thought was how interesting it was to see the transition in, you know, people, language, food, landscapes when you're driving versus how disconnected you are when you fly into somewhere. When you fly into somewhere, it's almost like you're either flying in somewhere and getting a culture shock, or you're like just flying into somewhere in the States and being like, oh yeah, they're similar to what we are. But right away, when we crossed over to Detroit, like you notice that the signs are bigger, everything seems bigger.
Everyone
lights
has an
are
accent.
brighter.
Like,
Everyone
from
has
the minute you cross over, I'm like, what?
yeah, like well, we have an accent too,
we
but
have
theirs
an
is
accent,
completely different. And it's like Toronto's only a few hours away.
Mhm.
It's nothing crazy, but the accent changes. And then as you drive through states, the accent changes more and the people change. And
Yeah, like how they interact. Like I find like Canadians are a lot more reserved. Like right away in Detroit, the hotel, like people would just, I don't even know to this day if they were talking to me. Like they just entered the room in conversation and I was the only one there. So I guess they were talking to me, but it was just like this really friendly, outgoing,
yeah,
personality. I find it's more common in the States.
Yeah, more friendly. I bet like people from big cities beg to differ, but yeah, overall just very friendly, nice interactions the whole way down, all the way here. No issues at all.
Other than the border.
Other than the border in the States, yeah, when they're asking us random friggin' questions for no reason.
They weren't the nicest.
And yeah, it was just so interesting to like drive through all of Middle America to hear it. It almost seems like unreal looking at it on a map, but it seemed just so normal doing it, even though every day we were seeing a different landscape, for example, even in Mexico. And we'll get there, but driving through Mexico, we're literally going from desert to like rainforest type of stuff. So it's just cool to be connected to that transition versus flying somewhere and being completely disconnected from it. Yeah. I think for us, even just driving down, it was like a good learning experience, eye-opening experience, even though we're doing a lot of driving, just looking out the window at stuff. Like it's mesmerizing almost.
Yeah. And even like the diversity of people was something that we also noticed. Like we're coming from Toronto, super diverse city. Like every culture in the world is represented in Toronto. And then, yeah, driving through some of the states, even in like cities like Nashville, Dallas, Austin, it seems to just be like 3 big options, like
white and black and a few Mexicans mixed in.
Hispanic people, yeah. That was it. And like very little other representation.
Yeah. And then as you get like further south, more Hispanic. But I'm gonna roll the dice here and say Mexicans.
Gotta be proper for the podcast. Yeah,
well,
probably
shout out
Mexican.
to the Mexicans.
Yeah, I mean, we were in Texas, so probably a lot were Mexican.
I'm just saying there was more Mexican restaurants, so I'm sure it was a representation
roll
of
the
the
dice.
population. And then we got to Mexico, and it was all Mexicans. So,
but that's what I was saying. Like, you kind of go that gradual route, and like, you know, it just becomes more and more normal. And then boom, yeah, you're in Mexico, but you kind of already got prepped for that.
Yeah,
in like
acclimatized.
Dallas, Austin. We were in Laredo for like a few hours and like basically felt like Mexico.
Yeah. Yeah, that was like odd too, because we're in Laredo, Texas, and it looked exactly like Mexico. Like it was just like all Mexicans there and like Mexican signs and restaurants and everything. Was in
Spanish.
Yeah.
I mean, I think even Mark got spoken to in Spanish by Laredo. So they were just like, Spanish. We're speaking Spanish here.
We're speaking Spanish here. That was cool. And then we finally got to Mexico after that, and we crossed over, which was like
way easier.
You just drive through and you pull over, and then they're like, go inside to get your visa stuff done. And that's what took a little bit long.
That was confusing. And that took, I think we were like, I know I was stressed about crossing the Mexican border and like, oh my God, what are they going to do? What are they going to ask us? All of this. They actually don't ask you anything. You drive through, like a flash happens. They're taking your photo, and then the light either goes green or red. And if it's green, you can go. If it's red, you got to pull over and get searched, which we got a red. And either way, if you're foreign, you're pulling over to do something at the immigration.
Which border was it? Which crossing was it?
Laredo, Colombia.
Okay.
Bridge that we took. So either way, you have to stop if you're foreign, but we had to get searched, which was not as intimidating as the States. They're all really nice. They just basically 10 of them like wandered around, asked us the same questions at different times in different ways.
And their only question was, where are you guys going?
Yeah. But it was so many times that we were like,
yeah,
is this the right answer?
Yeah, like as if they're trying to like trip you up. But I think they're just lacking organization overall.
Or they're like told that like you always have to be asking a question.
Yeah, or
someone's like watching them. That's what I felt.
Or that like if there's someone there, you have to kind of be grilling them. But they're like, okay, let's just ask them where they're going. That's an easy one. And then they loosely searched 2 of our luggages. And mind you, we have the car
it's like filled
completely, and a cargo box on top filled completely. So we were happy with that. It was just like, yeah, whatever. It was all closed in there. And then we went into immigration. And that's where like there was one person in front of us and there was
Took
no
a
one
really
there.
long
There was just one
time.
person and it took at least half an hour for that person to leave.
Not sure what they were doing.
Then we saw the lady. She's like, you have to go see the other guy. Went to see the other guy, gave us some papers to photocopied the wrong things. The lady's like, yeah, that guy doesn't know what he's talking about. We're like, okay, man. Like,
So photocopied some different things, went back. It was a lot of back and forth, and thank God there was no line because it would have taken like all day.
Yeah.
If we had to like leave the line and then do whatever we had to do and then wait back in line again.
It took us at least an hour for us to finish our things with 0 people there, like just one person in front of us.
But
so
they were all very nice.
yeah,
And,
they're all nice. And it's not bad
it's not bad,
considering.
yeah. I mean, that was the part that we were confused of because we knew what we needed to go in with. We knew what we needed to leave with.
Yeah.
We just weren't sure about the order of what happens.
Yeah. So we'll definitely like you'll put that into a blog post.
I mean,
and
we'll
then
have to like review it because I'm not going to lie. I'm not sure what would actually
we blacked
happened.
out. We're not sure what happened.
Because we had to correct ourselves so many times. But
yeah.
No, I'm joking. I kind of remember.
Yeah, I remember too.
The most part, but that was it.
Yeah.
And then we were in Mexico. And
well, in Mexico. So in Mexico, we stayed in San Luis Potosi.
First, we stayed in Saltillo.
In Saltillo, yeah.
And then we had 2 nights in San Luis Potosi.
So in Saltillo was just a very basic, it was a hotel.
It was a
like
hotel.
A motel
and I think
whatever.
like the thing that we've noticed so far in Mexico and like right away from like crossing the border, even to a point in like in Texas driving, is how family oriented everything just becomes. Like restaurants always have a play area for kids, even like nice restaurants. The hotel restaurant has like a play area. Everything is taking into consideration children, which is just really like, it's amazing. Like, if you have kids and you go to a restaurant, like you understand how like you don't really get to sit and enjoy all the time because you're, taking care of your children.
Yeah.
But they have something to play with.
Like in a like enclosed like area where you could just leave them, which like I feel that we used to have that in Canada too. Mm-hmm. Like when I was a kid, we would go to restaurants and have that.
Yeah.
And it just went extinct. They're like, hey, take care of your own fucking kids.
Well, yeah, you don't see kids here on like their iPad or like
we've
your
noted,
phone or something. Like they just go to the play place and like.
And we had to make a like effort on the way here to find playgrounds.
Yeah, through the States.
The States. And even in Dallas and Austin, like there wasn't that many.
No, the rest areas had pretty nice. Like that's where we found playgrounds.
The rest areas on the highways, right? But in Mexico so far, like at the restaurants you go and there's a trampoline inside the restaurant. Like a giant trampoline with like the edges and stuff inside the restaurant for the kids. And they make that effort to have the kids. And you don't see kids on their iPads. You don't see kids doing
on their parents' phones. It's just like, okay, like I mean, I don't know if it's a great idea to jump on the trampoline after you eat, but whatever. belly
full of tacos.
But while they're waiting, they can go like jump around and like not, bother people or be bored, right? So
So we stayed in Saltillo one night in just a very standard place, and then we got an Airbnb in San Luis Potosi.
It was really nice,
and it was nice. It was kind of like a suburban type of
like a neighborhood.
Gated, but within the neighborhood there was indoor pool, a gym, a basketball court, a soccer court, 2 playgrounds, a trampoline. So like Bassie loves trampolines. So it was right up his alley, and that was nice again, just to get kind of like the feeling of being in a neighborhood. There was like little tacos stands just right outside of the community. Like everything was there that we needed. And we spent a day in the city too, which was also a lot of fun. Hard to find parking, but
it was Dia de Muertos, so or it's like the days leading up to it, and it was a Sunday.
And it was a Sunday,
so people were at church, and there was just like no parking when we went. We probably picked the worst time because as we were leaving, everyone was leaving church, and then like there was tons of parking. But yeah, it was nice to spend the day and like see some of the displays that they had for Dia de los Muertos.
And overall, just nice to see a town like that we may not have decided to choose otherwise. But at least, we got to experience that, and that was fun.
Yeah.
And yeah, Bassie loved it. Like we got to play, in the parks on the trampolines, went swimming. Yeah. Everything was.
I think Bassie probably would have just lived there forever if we chose it.
And then we drove on to Guadalajara.
And I think the road trip at that point started to catch up to us. Bassie got sick.
Yeah, he caught like a bug or something.
Yeah.
And
then, yeah, it was just like a little bit rough. Like we actually know someone in Guadalajara. She was trying to like see if we wanted to meet up, but we just had to say no because it was just, we were kind of exhausted by that point.
Bassie was sick. Especially like he was sick. He was sick in the car. We had been driving for over like a week days. At that point. So,
and we had one more day to go. So we just said no.
And like, we want to go back to Guadalajara, but we want to do it right. We don't want to just try to rush anything. So,
big city.
At this point, it was like we wouldn't have enjoyed whatever we were doing as much as, to its full potential. So it was important for us just to relax, and we had quite a bit of drive left the next day. So just relax. And, the next day we're off to Puerto Vallarta, and that's where we're saying like, we went from the desert in Saltillo to like dope, fields of whatever they make tequila with, the tequila plants, to the rainforests of Puerto Vallarta. So driving to Puerto Vallarta, it's not that far from Guadalajara, but you're just literally driving through like
up winding hills and then down.
Yeah. And it like beautiful, beautiful drive. But it got to a point where there was quite a bit of traffic, and then you're stuck behind big tractor trailers and going, one-way lanes and stuff like that. So by the end, we were kind of over it.
I was over it, but that was actually my favorite little drive just because it was so scenic.
Yeah, the favorite drive. And also the fact that there's like an end.
Yeah.
We're like at the end, we're right there. If it was like day 5 and that was the drive, I would have been like more burnt out, I'd say. But because it was right near the end, it was good.
And then there's parts where you could see the water peeking out, and we're like, oh, the water.
Yeah.
And what the big thing for me was the jaguar crossing signs. I tried to get a picture.
It's like jaguar crossing signs, bear crossing signs.
And like after Saltillo or before Saltillo. Yeah, there was a bear. There was, I think the bull was just
like just a cow. Yeah, cattle.
But the jaguar one, I was like, there's jaguars.
Yeah.
Wow.
And driving through like the mountains and seeing those small towns that are just like one dirt road.
Yeah.
And you're like, what do people do out here? Like, what's going on? But it was good. It was like eye-opening. And it's weird that, driving through everything. And a lot of people would say like, oh, weren't you nervous driving in Mexico? But just driving through like to the States and through Mexico, you almost get used to it.
Yeah.
Right?
It didn't feel scary or strange at all. It felt very like familiar almost.
Even like there's some highways, you're driving on the highway, that's fine. Like highways look the same everywhere, but you're also driving through small towns in certain areas and like dirt roads. And it's just, it feels normal again when you're driving. It's not like you're flying in and then driving. It's like you're starting from,
Toronto, and then you see everything change from all the way down there. So to here. So it didn't feel weird. It didn't look strange. We weren't scared. We, I think, built it up to be scarier, or I know I did. Actually, we did a lot of research about driving through Mexico. And to be honest, most of the, stories from other people, their accounts were very positive. A lot of people who said that they drive down twice a year or drive down and back up, every year. For many years, zero problems. But, you focus on those 1 or 2 stories where someone did have.
The worst we would have seen is like you get pulled over for going too fast or too slow. as they say, and then you get asked for money and stuff like that. But
Or
we
yeah,
didn't.
crooked cops pulling you over and then trying to hustle you for money. I've heard a lot of those, not too many of those stories, but a few of those. And then a lot of people are just like, know the law, know your rights, and then you don't actually have to pay them.
That being said, we didn't have anything even close to like a sketchy or uncomfortable encounter.
We had one checkpoint and it was fine. He looked at our passports.
He looked at our passports and that was it.
Yeah.
And yeah, it wasn't sketchy by any means.
Mm-hmm. And that was on the last day as well, right? That was, basically.
We did see like an uptick in soldiers and policemen.
The army.
Once we left
Guadalajara.
Once we left Guadalajara to come to Puerto Vallarta, there was quite a bit of an uptick overall on the roads and
the
everywhere.
Checkpoint. And I don't know if that is because there's something happening here, or there is a big military base that we passed when we entered Vallarta. So if it's just that they're around because there's a base here, or that they're around because they're looking for something, I don't know. But for a while, we were they were following us. They're not following us, but they were behind us on the highway and then in front of us. So it's like later on. So I was like, well, nothing will happen to us as long as they're cool.
Yeah. And it was definitely useful to know a little bit of Spanish too, because we weren't so nervous to try like local foods and talk to local people and ask for stuff, because on the way here, like there's very little English being spoken.
Mm-hmm. I actually thought that there would
English.
be more just because it's next to the States and because there is such a high amount of tourism here and expat populations. But
like in the States, they're speaking to us in Spanish. So once you cross in, there's no,
especially me,
there's no, like the lady at the border crossing spoke a little bit of English. But again, I'm just like, going to take the opportunity to.
Well, that was only when she realized how confused we were where we needed to be. Then she was
like,
listen.
The fifth time where we came to her. She's like, get this printed.
That guy, no, even when she's like, she still was speaking Spanish at that point.
Yeah. But yeah, it is good. And like speaking a little bit of Spanish makes you want to try like the local, whatever, the little taco
you feel
stand.
More comfortable and they feel more comfortable with you. Like we went to that little taco stand in San Luis Potosi and like there's no menu there anyways. And so
there's a person standing in front of you.
She's like, what do you want?
With a pen. So it's like, you're so nervous.
And we're like, what do you got?
Yeah. And then she explains everything. You understand nothing. So that's where like, we speak a little bit of Spanish, but understanding it is a different beast because they speak in a completely different accent than what we're used to.
They speak really fast. And sometimes it's just like the vocabulary of the taco stand. We just don't know.
It's like specific words. Yeah.
We don't know those menu items yet. So we're just like, I don't know, like surprise me. So I think when you try and you kind of joke around with them, they're like, they're fine. So they feel more comfortable with you and they're not worried about, scaring you with like a head meat taco or something like that.
Which I had. Not on purpose. I had on purpose. I ordered it. I was like, I need to try some head meat. And overall, like really pleasant experience driving here. From the States to here. Nothing bad, nothing sketchy.
Yeah, it was good.
It was really cool.
Beautiful.
Yeah,
to see everything.
And how do you feel now that we're here? The journey's over.
The journey was
fun.
It starting? It's starting. But like the drive was fun. I think it just really exhausted both of us. Like I got whatever Bassie had a couple days after.
Yeah. Like we didn't realize. I think when you're driving here, you have a little bit of adrenaline in you because not only like are you driving towards somewhere you really want to be, but also you just really want to see like what's next, like the next city, the next thing. So you're just kind of rolling with adrenaline. Excuse me. And when we got here, we still had that adrenaline because you're like, I want to go check out the beach and I want to go walk around and have tacos and do all these things.
Everything right now.
And then the next day, so like the second day, once we, did these things, we went to the beach the day we got here.
Yeah.
And then the next day we didn't do anything.
Yeah.
'Cause we were like
I'm so tired.
hella burnt out. Yeah. So
Yeah.
we just ended up sleeping in, being burnt out. And I'm still feeling like a little bit like burnt out.
Yeah, it hasn't
from
fully
it.
recovered. Plus, we're here and it is like throughout Mexico, it was warmer than Canada, obviously, like maybe 25, 26 in the daytime, but a dry heat. And then it would cool off to like 10 degrees at night. And here is just humid and like Toronto summer, like 30 degrees, humid.
But I love it, baby.
Yeah, we love it. But I think it's just like
It's a
with the
yeah.
exhaustion and then you're like constantly sweating and the heat, it's just like
Yeah.
makes you more, it drains you a little bit more.
Yeah.
I think we're dehydrated and tired still a bit.
So yeah, we've been here, I guess, for
5 days.
5 days apparently.
Well, I think, 2 days
3
were
days
lost.
to me. And then, yeah, like a couple days we were just burnt out. So it feels like only 3 days, but we still have so much to see, which is really exciting. And, it feels like surreal to be here, but at the same time, it feels very normal to be here, which is weird. I think that stems from us, thinking about being here
For so long.
every single day, dreaming about it, manifesting it. And now that it's real, it just feels completely normal. Like we had envisioned it. And it is, better than like what I thought it would be, because I had, thought of like negative things that could have happened on the way here and nothing did happen. Not to say that they won't. Like obviously there's little bumps in the road and things could always happen, but just how pleasant people have been here. You know, how much we've seen already, less you a little bit because you caught a bug. me and the kids, like
We had a great day out.
we had a great day. Yeah, we did everything. And yeah, it's just exciting to see how many things are left to be discovered. And again, it's not the end of the journey, it's the beginning of the journey for us, because we have so many things we want to accomplish and we want to do and that we're going to do. So it's cool to be here.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I'm excited. Yeah, the same reasons. It feels, like you said, very familiar, very normal, like very at home here already somehow. But yeah, I'm excited. There's just like, I almost feel like we need to write everything down because there's so many like ideas and places and experiences that we want to try and visit. That I don't even like, it's overwhelming to know like, where should we start? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
what should we do first? Because there's part of it that we need to organize ourselves here and like kind of settle ourselves in properly. And then there's just a million other cool things that we want to see and do. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff. And then obviously with the kids, we're thinking about, school options, making friends.
Like school, we have to figure out school. And we have to figure out a longer term place to stay as well. And with that, we need to figure out where we want to stay. So that's where exploring different neighborhoods and the streets and stuff like that is important. So we do have a little bit of time left, obviously. Like
it goes by fast.
25 days, but 25 days is nothing.
Yeah.
It goes by really fast. So there's still so much to discover. And yeah, it's just been exciting. And already like we've met a whole bunch of people, new friends. And
yeah. We went to an event today and there was like probably 50 people there or something.
Yeah.
Just a bunch of families. And so a lot of them were from Canada. And yeah, we made some friends with people that had the same sort of values as us. Similar reasons for being here, and also kids. Bassie had a blast, was playing like for 3 hours.
He was like drenched in sweat the whole time. I was eating ribs and I was drenched in sweat. Yeah. So I can just imagine him on the trampoline.
Yeah, trampoline and the plane and everything. So it was good. I mean, there's a whole community out here of people. Yeah. Obviously we want to make some local friends as well, but it's nice to, when you're foreign in a new city, to have people from back home that kind of know what you're going through and what you will be going through and can help you figure things out. So it's always like a good lifeline to have.
Yeah. for sure. And I mean, it's just nice to meet people right away. Obviously our goal is to also, we want to be friends with Mexicans and Mexican friends and local people, and have the kids fluent in Spanish and us being fluent in Spanish as well. But we need to transition into that just for communication purposes first. But we've learned a lot already. Like Spanish is starting to come back.
Coming back to us.
And then obviously have to get better. But overall, just a really good trip. Eye-opening. A lot of people are shocked when we tell them we drove down here. But again, it's just something that felt like a no-brainer. Like, why not drive down? Like, it's just a nice drive.
Well,
and
we couldn't get on a plane.
Well, and just, to be fully transparent, like going from where we were a year ago, not being able to travel anywhere. We're kind of had accepted that, unfortunately, in the back of our head. Like, we'll never be able to leave the country. We couldn't even travel within the country because of, decisions and
personal decisions
and forced inhuman things on people. So we were just kind of stuck in a very dark place, but, we saw light within the darkness, and we bolted towards that light. And here we are today. Like, it does feel unreal in that aspect that, we thought that we'd never be able to travel again, let alone live freely again, right? We weren't allowed in restaurants, weren't allowed in gyms, you weren't allowed in community centers where we used to take baths. Like, everything we loved about the city, we weren't allowed to do anymore for no reason. So it feels unreal to be here, and we're definitely going to make the most out of the life we've created and live it to its full extent.
Bye.
Bye. Till next time.